my god, my back. I just gave myself a cramp in my back. I didn't even think they were that heavy. What's the crack, guys? Welcome back. In today's video, I will be sharing with you all of the books that I bought in February. I don't know why I started it like that, but we're gonna go with it. I even haven't had coffee yet. So in February, I went to New York and Las Vegas with my family, and pretty much the only thing I wanted to do in New York was to go to Barnes & Noble. Why would you not go to Barnes & Noble when you're, like, obsessed with books? Why wouldn't you? So I had like 45 minutes of uninterrupted me time in Barnes & Noble, and I got some books. I also had a list on my phone, but my phone died when we were trying to navigate around New York City because I wanted to find the Katharine Hepburn Garden, and my phone died when I was trying to find it. Fun times. On that phone was my list of books that I wanted to get. Could I remember all of them? Yes, but I also thought that I was forgetting some. But once I got my phone turned on and I saw it, I was like, nailed it. Let's just get into the books that I bought in Barnes & Noble and the 2 books that I did not buy in Barnes & Noble. I'm going to start it off with King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Don't you already have that? Yes, I do, but this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of King of Scars, because in the back it has a snazzy little poster that I have not pulled out yet, that I think is a map of Ravka. Yes, it is a map of Ravka. And also this finish on the dust jacket is different to my one, because my one is a bit more matte, whereas this one is a bit more glossy. God love yous, I really am a bit hyper now. I'm talking about books that I bought instead of like trying to sound articulate and review them. Does that come off? Do I want to take it off? I got this because like I'm a savage and like I love having duplicates of all of Leigh Bardugo's books. Case in point, Grisha Trilogy. I have Six of Crows and the collector's edition of Six of Crows, and I am waiting until they announce that they're going to do a collector's edition of Crooked Kingdom, because I will have it. Does it look good in the buff? Yes, it does. I also got the Iron Codex by David Mack. This is the second book in these Dark Arts series, and is currently the book that I'm reading right now. This is a sequel to The Midnight Front, which was one of my favorite books from last year, where The Midnight Front focused on the Second World War. This one focuses on the Cold War. The characters from the first novel are back, and they are still hunting down Nazis, and that's pretty much all I know about it. Even though I currently am reading it about 100 pages in, they're going all over the world. They've been to Bolivia, they've been to India so far, they're in Washington DC, and it's a wild ride, and I love this story so much. If you haven't heard of The Midnight Front, it is basically Harry Potter meets Supernatural meets Charmed. It is magic during World War II, but it is summoning demons and borrowing their powers. Translation: powers. It is a wild ride, and I have no doubt that this is going to be the same thing. It's been a wild ride so far, and I am very much enjoying it. It is a very dense book to try and get into because it is so complicated with the magic system, but it is worth it. Just while we're on the topic of bookish things, I got a bookmark when I was at Ground Zero. This is of the Survivor Tree. The story about this tree really struck a chord with me. It is so poignant. In the debris and the rubble of the World Trade Centers, a tree was found from the grounds. It was still alive, and so they took it away and nursed it back to health and replanted it at the memorial. So I got this bookmark. I'm very happy that I got this and donated to the upkeep of the pools. If you remember my book depository haul from last year, I think it was last year, around this time last year, I got Renegades by Marissa Meyer because I wanted that specific edition because I hated the book covers for the UK. Still do. So whenever I was in Barnes & Noble, I was determined to get the next book, and that is Arch Enemies. I have read this. I loved it, but this is also the exclusive edition for Barnes & Noble with a deleted scene inside. This is the sequel to Renegades, and I went into this knowing nothing about it. I did not want to be spoiled for what was going to happen next. You will hear my thoughts on this in my March wrap-up. As I said, I have read it, so you will have to wait until then, because this is a haul and not a review, and I don't want to start doing reviews. I almost thought that they didn't have Arch Enemies in Barnes & Noble because I went through the entire fantasy and sci-fi section, could not find it. It was just on the promotional ends of the aisles. I was like, where's Arch Enemies? Where's Arch Enemies? Where's Arch Enemies? I was this close to asking somebody if they had arch enemies in hardback. And I found it. Hallelujah. Still digging Hyperkazzy yet. I also picked up The Disasters by M.K. England. I have read this as well because I was very excited by all of my purchases that I just had to read them immediately. And just look at this cover. It does not just scream, read me! The Disasters. Yeah. Try that again. The Disasters follows hotshot pilot Nax Hall, and he has managed to get himself expelled from pilot school on the moon in less than 24 hours. So when he and 3 other washouts head to the airlock to get their transport home, the school is attacked and they manage to escape, but they are being blamed for what happened, and so they end up having to exonerate themselves and clear their names. This is a debut novel by M.K. England. This is her first book. As I said, I have read this. I don't want to go into a review, but this is definitely a debut novel. It is set in 2149. It really interested me when I first saw it on Goodreads. I never thought anything else about it. I looked it up on Amazon UK and it said it wasn't going to be released for another month or so. But when I saw this in Barnes & Noble, I lifted it. To be fair, there was about like 10 books in my basket at one point, but I ended up coming out with 5. So self-control, people. Self-control. I'm very proud of myself that I only got 5. My mum was like, Jesus Christ. I was proud of myself. You will hear more of my thoughts in my March wrap-up, just like with Renegades, arch enemies. And the last book that I got in Barnes & Noble was The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Janoff. I really had no idea about this book. I just saw it in Barnes & Noble because A, this cover intrigued me. It has deckled edges as if somebody just like put this book together as a dossier. It just really captured my attention because 1946 Manhattan. One morning while passing through Grand Central Terminal on her way to work, Grace Healy finds an abandoned suitcase tucked beneath a bench. Unable to resist her own curiosity, Grace opens the suitcase, where she discovers a dozen photographs, each of a different woman. In a moment of impulse, Grace takes the photographs and quickly leaves the station. Grace soon learns that the suitcase belonged to a woman named Eleanor Trigg, leader of a network of female secret agents who were deployed out of London during the war. 12 of these women were sent to occupied Europe as couriers and radio operators to aid the resistance, but they never returned home. Their fates a mystery. Setting out to learn the truth behind the women in the photographs, Grace finds herself drawn to a young mother turned agent named Marie, whose daring mission overseas reveals a remarkable story of friendship, valor and betrayal. Vividly rendered and inspired by true events, author Pam Janoff shines a light on the incredible heroics of the brave women of the war and weaves a mesmerizing tale of courage, sisterhood and the great strength of women to survive in the hardest of circumstances. It's an historical fiction that sounds right up my street. It sounds very much like something that would go hand in hand with Elizabeth Wean's books. Because of these edges here, it just makes it more immersive, that you think that this is what she went through, that this is part of her diary. I'm not sure what perspective this book takes, but it is just a gorgeous cover. And even the lady here, you would think it's almost like Agent Carter. So those are the books that I got in Barnes & Noble, and then I got 2 books whilst traveling, as you do. So the first one was I Was Anastasia by Ariel Lawhon. I first saw this book when we were waiting for our flight in Philadelphia to go to JFK. If you haven't seen my books on historical figures that I want video, I will have it in the description box down below, but Anastasia was one of them. I know this book is a complete work of fiction because I know that Anastasia died with her family when they were executed, and that her remains were found in the 90s, I think, with Alexei. But nevertheless, I am a sucker for an Anastasia story, and this follows a girl who has a striking resemblance to Anastasia Romanoff, and she's pulled shivering and senseless from a canal in Berlin. Refusing to explain her presence in the freezing waters, she is taken to a hospital where an examination reveals that her body is riddled with countless horrific scars. When she finally does speak, this frightened, mysterious woman complains to be the Russian Grand Duchess Anastasia. The questions swirling around Anna Anderson's past and the mystery of Anastasia Romanoff's fate chart a saga that spans half a century and touches 3 continents. Every bit as vivid and climactic as it is poignant and enchanting, the novel brings a piece of legendary history to life. As I said, I know that Anastasia did die, but I am very intrigued just to hear what kind of web that this can weave in what might have happened to Anastasia in all those years before she was actually found. And because we were in New York City, I kind of just like felt like I wanted to get books on New York City. So whenever we were on Heathrow, I saw in the W.H. Smith that there was a book called New York 2140 by Kim Stanley Robinson. I wanted to get it there and then, but I had like so many books crammed into my carry-on suitcase and also into my backpack that I was like, I think my mom will actually kill me. So I waited until I got home and ordered it off of Amazon. As the title suggests, it is set in 2140, where New York City has been subject to rising waters, and the skyscrapers have been rendered into their own little islands and their own self-contained kind of units. As the sea level rose, every street became a canal, every skyscraper an island. For the residents of one apartment building in Madison Square, however, New York in the year 2140 is far from a drowned city. I just randomly just checked it on Goodreads and there seemed to be good reviews for it. I am very intrigued to read this because, as I said, I was in New York City, and so I can actually see where all of these places are in my mind, and I can definitely see how they all become like their own little island-ish things. So very intrigued to read this. So there you have it, guys. Those are all of the books that I bought in February from Barnes & Noble and from traveling. I will tell you right now that my March haul is going to be big. I thought their whole thing where I might try to slow down my buying. It didn't slow down because new books kept coming out. Spoiler alert. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know if any of these books have piqued your curiosity. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Oh, thank God that cramp's gone.